Some of these viral coloring techniques are insane. The results are amazing. But guess what? A few of them are actually really easy to create. And since they do in fact elevate your coloring, I thought I would share with you 7 easy viral coloring techniques that you can use today to incorporate into your creative coloring practice and make it more joyful. Beginning with this one, which just uses washi tape and a black marker. So I have a few of my coloring books here to choose from, and I decided for this technique I'm going to use a page from Loved. I chose this one with the cat, and following the video I'm just going to put some washi tape all over it. I have to be honest, this is the part that I usually overthink, so I'm doing my best not to overthink the process and just place the tape on top randomly. Okay, we are ready for the next step, which is to fill in every space that we created with a black marker. And I've colored every space now, so following the video, we need to remove the tape. But I saw that they ripped a little bit of their paper on the video when taking the tape off, so I'm warming up my tape so that doesn't happen to me. Okay, so all of the tape is off, and now the next step is to go over the lines that are within the black spaces with a white acrylic marker. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking I should have done this differently. I'm following the video, but I should have kept the tape on and then draw the lines. That way they would be more precise and easier to trace. It honestly bothers me to stop before the edges and not having them be crisp. So I'm just gonna put some tape back in the areas I'm working on to have a cleaner result. Doing this way definitely took longer, but I made it work, so I was able to do all of the white lines. It certainly looks cool already, but I'm going to go ahead and grab my white and black markers, and I'm going to add little details just like they had on the video we saw. I'm just adding extra lines and dots to give it movement. And here in the tree, for example, I'm going to try to draw some of the wooden texture just so you can read it better as a tree, because of course with this technique it's kind of harder to see what the image is about. I am also adding a few details to the cat and more lines to give it expression. Definitely need this final step to make the page look more fun. So this is the result. This technique took 35 minutes, but I think if you do it the right way without removing the tape when drawing the white lines, it will probably be faster. I give it a score of 1 star for difficulty. It's pretty easy and straightforward, and 4 stars for beauty. It looks cool. Moving on, I'm going to try a very popular technique, rainbow edges with gray. I've seen many versions of this. They're very viral. But all of the versions I've seen, they do the rainbow with pastel colors, and I want to try it with bright ones. So I picked out my bright markers, and I'm going to start outlining the outline of her tunic in rainbow order. I'm also going to do her hair, and I'm going to mirror the colors on both sides, just drawing strokes in rainbow order. Now, instead of outlining the rest of the drawing, I'm going to color her hair, face, and hands first. And I'm also going to use a very dark gray for the background. I'm going to do this to have a better idea of how this coloring is coming together and to determine what details I want to fully color in rainbow to give the page a punch. With those areas grayed out, I've decided I'm going to color the flowers entirely instead of just doing the outlines. So I'm coloring this first flower in rainbow order, and I actually think I made a mistake by coloring it with vertical lines. So on the next one, I'm going to follow the shape of the flower, and I'm starting with yellow at the center. That one worked better, so I'm going to do the other flower like this too. For the branches, I'm just adding colorful lines at the centers, and I have decided I'm going to outline all of the leaves with rainbow too. I thought the daisies would look pretty if I colored each petal with one color, but I immediately dislike this. It looks off. So I'm trying the rainbow grading in the next flower. And no, I don't like this one either. So I'm just going to do the rest of the foliage and paint over those 2 layers, and I'm just going to leave them white. I'm adding shadows to the gray areas I've already colored to get a better idea of what other grays to use. And I think the shadows are improving this already. It looks great. So I'm just going to finish coloring everything in. And yes, I'm covering those daisies with this white acrylic marker. And now for the magic. These pages normally have tiny white dots on top of the rainbow lines, but I'm going to do this a little bit differently too by adding some colorful dots on and around the rainbow colors. I'm guessing this will make this process longer, but I'm loving the result. Also, I am adding white dots around the daisies as I add more layers to cover the colors underneath. And after a lot of dots, here it is. I really like it, and I feel the bright rainbow colors work just as well as the pastel rainbow colors. This page took me around 50 minutes. I give it 2 stars for difficulty, and I think 5 stars for beauty. It works. Next, I want to do something that is really popular, using just one color. And I'm using the swatching page from my book Cozy Forest because I want to show you the difference between the one marker challenge and the one color challenge on the same page. They are both really fun and not that hard. I'm going to do the circles with one marker, so I'm going to color everything. Yes, everything with the same marker. And I'm doing the same thing with the other circle, everything colored with the same purple marker. As I let both of these dry, I'm going to start coloring the first square. I am going to color it entirely with teal, but because this is one color, I am going to use more markers and every different shade of teal to fill in the spaces. The good thing about using one color in different shades is that it's almost guaranteed that the page will turn out okay, because everything just matches, right? As I've been coloring this square, the first circle has dried, so I'm going to start to layer the marker in the areas of the drawing that I want to be darker. So yep, using the same marker I used to color everything, I'm coloring the background, the stems, the hat, and the wings now. I'm not going over the character or the frog because I want them to be the lightest things of my illustration. I need to let that dry to layer more pigment on and get different values, so I'm going back to the teal square to keep coloring everything. And after that, I'm going back to the circle to layer more color with the same marker to make some of the areas even darker. And I'm also going to add texture by drawing lines on top of the leaves, and yes, I'm still using the same marker. Now back to the teal square where I'm going to start to add shadows using the markers I colored everything with. And again, back to the circle to layer more color and to get that background to be darker and to add more details to the drawing. Finally, I'm using my white acrylic marker and I'm adding highlights and a few magical dots to finish this one color or monochromatic square. These 2 top ones are done, so I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom illustrations. But sadly, the purple marker I colored everything with is too dry, so I'm going to use a different purple marker to continue. And the square illustration I'm going to do with different shades of blue. You know the drill, back and forth between the two, mostly because the one marker side definitely needs drying time between layers. If the bottom layer is not fully dried, the marker will not layer darker when you color on top. And the page is done. Just keep in mind, if you're doing a one marker page, you'll probably use that marker out. This page took about an hour, and both techniques are fairly easy, but they're just both time consuming. So I'm rating them 1 star for difficulty and 3 stars for beauty. I guess how beautiful they turn out depends on which color you choose for your page, and I'm not crazy about the colors I chose here. Okay, let's move forward to a super low stress technique, and I'm going to use my newest book for this one, Small Art. This book is divided into sections. The first section has easy prompts to follow for little drawings. The second section has a bunch of bookmarks that you can color fast, and if you love one, you can cut it out and use it or gift it. And the last section has some prompt suggestions that you can use to color the small 4x6 inches illustrations that make it up. These are supposed to take less time, and you can also frame them, but we'll get into that later. For now, I'm choosing this cute page, and we're doing chaos coloring. This technique is great because it's super freeing and relaxing, and I also use it to get the last drops of pigment from markers that have almost dried out. I mark the markers that are dying on my swatch cards, as you can see. So to start, I'm just gonna scribble on this with some of those markers, no sense or directions, it's just scribbles. So hey, if your toddler got into your book or if you have bleed through on a page, this is a good technique to rescue said page. I'm just going to keep scribbling with different colors, again, no direction or plan. The only thing I'm trying to do is cover the drawings completely. As I filled the spaces, I felt like being a little bit more intentional, so I used one color specifically in the bow and added some cheeks and colored the inner ears. Then I filled the rest of the space and again went back to color with the intention for the rest of the accessories. Now I have no blank spaces, so I'm going to grab a dark gray marker, you could use black too, and I'm going to color everything else around them, all of the background. With that done, it's time to give the illustration some finishing touches. So I'm going to start to add shadows with similar colors to the ones I used to scribble. I'm also using these markers to add a few more details, and then finally I'm adding white highlights with the acrylic marker. How easy was that? This page took 20 minutes, not even, and I'm so happy with it. I love it so much that I'm actually gonna cut the page out. I'm gonna cut around the illustration so I can pop it into this frame that I have here in my studio. I made the illustration in the frame in a different video a while ago, so I think it's a good time to change it. So in it will go. I give this technique 1 star for difficulty. Could even give it half a star. It's so easy to do. And I'm actually giving it 5 stars for beauty. I really love the result. Next, we're going back to Loved and we're going to do the bokeh effect. I never pronounced that right, sorry. I've seen this one everywhere. It truly elevates a page and it's so easy to do. I'm going to start by choosing 4 markers that are similar and go together for the background. Let me swatch them for you to see. What I've seen most people do is they draw random shapes and then they make the circles with the blender, but I like to do it by drawing circles from the get-go. And that is literally all you have to do. Color circles of different sizes with all the markers you chose and let them overlap. As you move around the space you're filling, they'll dry and layer differently, so that's our background. Bokeh is mostly used for backgrounds, but in this page we'll use to fill most of it. So I'm using a combination of purples, the same way I used for the background for some of the clouds, and then a combination of 4 blue markers to do the rest of the clouds. Now that everything is colored with circles, I'm going to use the colorless blender like I mentioned to draw even more dots on top. This marker actually removes pigment, so you'll see these circles I'm drawing lighten up as they dry up. You need to add more of these to make your lights look brighter. So since I'm going for a darker vibe for this page, I'm adding very little of them. The same thing for this next step. I'm using the acrylic marker to draw more dots, which I'm smudging with a Q-tip to get soft edges and a bit more transparency. I am also going to use this technique to color in the moon. I want to try to make it look shinier to one side by adding the lightest dots where the highlight would be and then going darker towards the edges. Now to color everything else in, I'm using the same bluish gray that I have on the background for her hair and then one of the purples for her dress to tie everything together. I colored the face, the stars, and added some shadows. And yeah, shadows really improve pages and they are easy to add. Lastly, I'm adding smaller dots on top with acrylic marker where the highlights would go, and of course I'm adding highlights on the areas I flat colored as well. And that's it. This page took me a little over an hour, 63 minutes to be exact, so it's time consuming to fill large areas with this because you have to keep switching markers to draw the circles, but it's still pretty easy, so I'm still giving it a 1 star for simplicity, but it gets 5 stars for beauty. Really worth the extra time. For the next technique, we are going to do Rainbow Swirl. Again, super viral, super popular. I've personally tried a few versions of this, like this diagonal page and this classic swirl one. So I'm going to do it again, but with a twist to make something different. Instead of arranging the rainbow colors in a swirl or wheel, I'm going to use them in concentric circles. I'm drawing a star in the middle of the page just to add more interest to it, and then I'm going to draw circles around it. With all of the circles drawn, it's time to add color. I'm coloring this star with yellow, which is an instant regret because now I'm going to have to alter the order of the colors and not do straight up rainbow. I should have just colored it with red and move out from that. But I chose yellow, so my next color will be green. Here with the green, I'm just coloring everything within that first circle with green, any green, different shades of green. On the next circle, of course, I'm going to use blue. And the same process, color everything within the circle with different blues that I'm trying to match in value to the greens I chose first. Then it was time to use purple with the same process, and then I'm going to start the rainbow again, so I'm going to do red, which I'm actually going to replace with pink to make everything softer, and then orange. For the orange area, I'm also picking very soft, almost pastel shades. Okay, everything has been colored and I kept every marker I used out here classified by areas to the side so that I can come back to them and grab them to add shadows. And oh, maybe I should mention that for this page I had visitors, one on my desk and another one on my lap, and he made this go way slower as I was grabbing colors and coloring with one hand only. Thankfully, they decided to go outside now that I'm going to add shadows, so this part is going to go faster. Now I'm going to add the magical dots that separate the colors in areas and make it look pretty without having to do any blending. But again, I'm doing it my way by adding dots in every color first, and then I'll go on top of these with the white dots. It's just a little extra time. I'm just using one acrylic marker per color. Well, except for the orange, just because on the orange it's next to the white, and I'm thinking using two shades will help me better connect the circle with all of that white background. So a lot of dotting later, I'm adding the smaller white dots on top for that magical look, and we're done. I'm giving this 2 for difficulty just because you have to choose so many colors and you have to think so much, but it's getting 5 stars for beauty. Doing these circles was an experiment and it looks pretty. And of course, the classical swirl that I've done before is so pretty. So yeah, 5 stars. Okay, let's move to a different book for the next one. I'm getting small art again and I'm working on these bookmarks. For this page, I'm using a technique that is very similar to chaos coloring that Sarah Renee Clark has coined as dopamine coloring. I've been dying to try this one since I saw her gorgeous pages. They are so beautiful. So I'm going to follow Sarah's steps, and immediately this is more intentional than chaos coloring because she suggests getting a color palette, which I did. I got one from her color cubes and I picked out the colors in markers, and I also chose very light shades of the same 5 colors to follow her process. So just like with chaos coloring, she starts by scribbling on top, coloring outside the lines and being super free with it, but she is a little bit more intentional about color placement. It's just like you're coloring outside the lines, which is so much fun. I thought I was going to be able to color the 3 bookmarks at the same time, but I'm actually going to focus on this bottle first. Enjoy the process more as I see the image come together with color. I can honestly say I understand why she's calling it dopamine coloring. This feels great. No stress, just enjoying the color. Definitely pick a palette. It will take the pressure off and allow for freer creation. So I've colored everything with the pastels, and now I want to add contrast by filling in the background with darker shades. Again, I'm not respecting lines, just adding color, and I'm going to start layering the dark colors as shadows. Sarah also uses color pencils on hers, which I took out and tried, but honestly, I feel that they do add a little bit of texture and interest, but I think I can achieve the same effect with the alcohol markers using the thinner nib. I'm also using acrylic markers like she does, just to bring the shapes out, to cover some lines, and to add highlights. And yeah, I'm also adding a few dots with the white acrylic marker here. Then I'm going back and forth between my materials to make things darker and have them pop out, or to do highlights. And that's the first bookmark done. So I'm going to move to the second one. I want this one to be more purple than the first, which looks kind of green. So again, filling the spaces accordingly and coloring outside the lines, but just adding color where I think it looks well. Like I said, I wanted a purple background for this one, so I'm mixing my purple markers. One of them was almost dried out, which actually kind of works as I layer and mix the other markers in. I kind of like the blotchy look. I think it adds to the effect and to the fun. Then I follow the same steps that I did for the other bottle, making things darker with my markers, adding highlights and definition with the acrylic markers, and a little bit of shadows and texture with the colored pencils. Brought everything together with the wet acrylic pen, and after adding a little bit more contrast with markers, I call it done. Finally, I wanted the third bottle to be more green because of the leaf it has inside. Again, adding color intentionally, but I'm being very messy and I'm truly enjoying this process. For this one, I'm going to change the background to pink so I have a little variation. And again, just like with the two first bottles, I followed the same steps. Adding texture with color pencils, lines where I thought I needed them, and then highlights and interest with the acrylic markers. And that is it. This is my dopamine page. I really like it, and you can see it's different from chaos coloring. It's much more intentional, but they are both so much fun. This one took me about an hour, and I give it a 2 for difficulty, just because you need to figure out where the shadows go a little bit, but it's easy and low pressure. And of course, I give it 5 stars for beauty. It's gorgeous. I really love it. So thank you so much for this idea, Sarah. And that is it. That was our 7th technique of the day. Here's a look back at everything we colored today. I'm so happy with all of these pages, and I can't wait to know which was your favorite. And of course, I want to know if you liked this video. Let me know in the comments. That's it for today. I hope you're having the most wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!